For words typed by one copywriter in 1947 quietly rewired how an entire civilization defines love, and the company that commissioned them has warehouses packed with the very thing they convinced you is irreplaceable. That is where this story begins, and it does not go where you think. Diamonds are not rare. They never were, at least not in the way you've been made to feel. Here is how the greatest commercial illusion in modern history was built piece by deliberate piece. Before the 1870s, diamonds genuinely were scarce. The world's known deposits barely filled a handful of sites in India and Brazil, and that natural scarcity kept prices high without anyone needing to try. Then in 1871, workers broke open the South African earth near a farm called Verwoerdsticht and found diamond fields so vast the price began to collapse almost immediately. More stones than anyone had ever seen, and if they all reached the market at once, diamonds would be worth roughly what a pretty piece of glass is worth. A young British businessman named Cecil Rhodes watched the price slide and understood something the other mine owners had not yet grasped. The only way to save the diamond business was to stop competing and start controlling. Through buyouts, pressured deals, and outright financial warfare, Rhodes consolidated nearly the entire South African diamond industry under one roof by 1888. The company eventually became De Beers. And De Beers had a policy from its earliest days that no serious history of capitalism quite prepares you for. They would control how many diamonds the world was allowed to see. They built a central selling organization that acted as a single valve on global supply. If prices softened, the valve closed. If a new mine opened somewhere inconvenient, De Beers bought it or crushed it. The diamonds piled up in vaults in London and Johannesburg, billions of dollars worth of stones simply withheld from existence as far as the market was concerned. But controlling supply was only half the architecture of the illusion. And here is the part that should stop you cold. You can make something scarce and still have no one want it. For diamonds to hold their price generation after generation, people had to feel that a diamond was not merely desirable, but morally necessary. That is where 1947 changes everything. De Beers commissioned the New York advertising agency N.W. Ayer to solve a specific problem. Diamond sales in America had been sluggish, engagement rings were not automatically diamonds, and nothing in tradition demanded they be. The agency's answer was 4 words. A diamond is forever. Think carefully about what that phrase engineers in the mind. It does not argue that diamonds are beautiful or rare. It argues that they are permanent, and it places that permanence next to the one thing every person in love desperately wants to believe, that their love will not fade. Choosing a cheaper stone suddenly felt like a confession. Not buying a diamond ring felt like predicting your own divorce. The slogan ran in 1947 and never stopped running. Advertising Age magazine would later declare it the most effective advertising slogan of the 20th century. But De Beers was not finished because a great slogan still needs a price anchor. The campaign introduced a guideline, and calling a guideline is generous because it was simply invented. A man should spend 2 months of his salary on an engagement ring. There was no study behind this, no tradition, no economic logic. It was a number chosen to feel significant without seeming absurd. Jewelers adopted it. Magazines printed it. Couples repeated it to each other as though it had been handed down by their grandparents. And within a decade, it carried the cultural weight of a natural law. What happened next shows just how transferable the illusion was. In the 1960s and 1970s, De Beers turned to Japan, a country where diamond engagement rings had essentially no cultural footprint whatsoever. Japanese weddings had their own deep traditions, and diamond rings were not part of them. Not yet. De Beers ran a sustained advertising campaign connecting diamonds to Western romance, modernity, and status. By the late 1970s, more than half of Japanese brides were receiving diamond rings. An entire national tradition had been installed in under 2 decades. They did not find desire where it existed. They manufactured it and shipped it overseas with the stones. Here is what makes the whole structure almost breathtaking in its audacity. De Beers executives have acknowledged in carefully chosen corporate language that if the diamonds sitting in their vaults were released onto the open market all at once, the price would collapse. The value of the stone on someone's finger is not a geological fact. It is a number chosen each year by a boardroom deciding how many stones to let out of a controlled stockpile. You are not buying rarity. You are buying rationing, dressed in candlelight and sentiment. And the reason an emerald feels like the wrong answer The reason a sapphire seems insufficient, even if it costs more, the reason the diamond feels irreplaceable, is because a team in a Manhattan office in 1947 decided it should feel that way and then spent decades ensuring that feeling propagated through every magazine, every film, every conversation between parents and children about what love is supposed to look like. The supply was controlled. The scarcity was manufactured. The emotion was engineered. What almost no one acknowledges is that the campaign worked so completely that most people defending the diamond on their finger will tell you it represents something real and eternal. They are right that it represents something. They're just wrong about who made it mean that. So the next time someone tells you that a diamond is forever, remember exactly what you were looking at. For words typed by one copywriter in 1947, still doing their job on your finger right now.